Hi, 7th grade. Today we're moving on to 1.5, rational numbers. Page 26. A rational number is a number that can be written as a quotient of two integers where the divisor is not 0. Quotient, that's the answer when we divide, right? So if A is divided by B, where A is the dividend, then B is the divisor underneath. So you cannot have a 0 in the denominator in order for it to be rational. Some examples of rational numbers are 2/5, 0.3, -6, and 3 1/2. These are all rational numbers. How? They can all be put in that A over B form. Okay, so if A over B is the goal, 2/5 was already in that form. 0.3 with a repeating bar is 1/3. -6 can be written as -6/1, and 3 1/2 can be written improper as 7/2. Okay, so all of those are examples of different rational numbers. In today's lesson, we're going to be comparing two different numbers. We did a little bit of that yesterday, where sometimes they gave you some fractions and some decimals and you had to put them in order. You'll be continuing to do that today. This first example, we have -3/4 and -1/2. So they're already in the same form. They're both fractions. One thing to keep in mind is, right, the closer you get to 0 on the left side of your number line, the bigger that number is, right? So smaller negatives are really bigger numbers. And again, I think we talked about this. You know, if you think about owing someone money, you want to owe them the smallest amount, right? So you don't want to owe them $58. You want to owe them, well, ideally no money, right? But maybe $2, okay? Okay, so hopefully I'm not going too fast, and if I am, feel free to pause it. The first thing we want to do, if they are in the same form, which is fractions in this case, is get a common denominator, right? So a common denominator for 4 and 2 is 4. So 3/4, -3/4 will stay the same, and then -1/2, when we multiply it by 2/2, changes to -2/4. And remembering, so the bottom is the same, so we have -3 and -2 as our numerators to compare. The closer it is to 0, so the smaller it is actually the bigger it is, right? Opposites for our negative numbers. So -2/4 is our bigger fraction when we compare. Okay? All right, the second one, similar to yesterday, we're going to order from least to greatest. And I want to make sure you can see okay. We have 4 different numbers, so -2/9, -2/10, 1/4, and 1 1/10. And we want them in the same form. So you can do fraction or you can do decimal. Okay, so I did both. We're going to do both for our notes. And in your homework, you can pick one. You do not have to do both ways. So if you want to do a fraction, the first one stays the same, and so does the third one, right? So I put arrows over the 2 that changed. So -2 is in the tenths spot, so it becomes 2/10, which I could reduce, but I think I'm going to leave it as 2/10 to help me compare for later, for the order, okay? We'll talk about that in a sec, but I'm just going to leave it as -2/10. And then 1 and 1 is in the 10th spot, is 1 1/10. Okay, so those are the 2 that changed. And now if I'm looking at this, I see I have 2 negatives and 2 positives. So if I break them up with my negatives and my positives, remember I'm trying to go from least to greatest. 1 1/10 is the biggest because it's the only one that has a whole number. And 1/4 is positive, so it's going to be bigger, right, than these two, but definitely smaller than this. So these are actually going to stay right in the same, right? So if these are my number 3 and number 4, 1/4, and then 1.1, because I want it in the original form, is going to be my largest. So then I need to determine what the order is of these two. Okay, so since they're in fraction form, if I was to visualize either whether you want to do on a number line or maybe you want to do, you know, a shape, like a pie shape of some sort, whichever you